Morning. How are you? Nope, no time. No, I care, but there's a lot to get through. Today, I wanted to start with a friend. Earlier this week was talking to me, and they were sharing how there's this chapter in the book of Isaiah. So Isaiah is in the Old Testament. It happened way long before the stuff that happened in the New Testament happened. And so they were sharing with me how there's this chapter in Isaiah, I think it's chapter 60, there's the framework of the New Testament embedded within it. It's like a table of contents to the New Testament. And showing me this and talking it through is kind of cool. And my first thought was, nerd. My second thought is, I got to make some better friends. The third thought was, you'll find that sort of thing in the Bible. If you read it enough, you're going to find this kind of cohesion, this synthesis. It's all over the Bible. It's a narrative or a paragraph you're reading, and it just seems pretty straightforward, but it's kind of like going up to a bookcase, and it's like, oh, it's a beautiful bookcase. And then you like shake it a little bit, you're like, oh, this isn't just a bookcase. And you slide it aside, you realize it's a door. It's a secret passageway, and inside that room are all the books, entire. That's what it's like. Or maybe we just forget the bookcase analogy, and we just take a single book off the shelf. Oh, one tome. And let's even forget the whole book. Let's just take the line. Let's take one of the best 5 opening lines in all of literature. If you get online and probably look for this, it'll show up. A top 10 opening line in all of literature. I bet it makes a list of all this. It's this line. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It's Dickens. He's going to then take that and unpack A Tale of Two Cities. That's what book it's found in. And in the initial paragraph, he's going to say that this is what it's going to be about. It's going to be a tale of order versus chaos. Safety versus danger, reason versus revolt. There are these two cities, and yet there's one choice posed by this classic paraphrase line, another one, to be or not to be. In this case, it's to be redeemed or not to be redeemed, and that's what Acts 12 is. It's a chapter where there's so much more than meets the eye. There are all sorts of hidden things. We're not going to get to all the hidden things in there, but there is this straightforward approach to a path clearly diverging into yellow wood. And we have these two cities on these paths, or we have these two men walking this path, and then it forks and they go in disparate directions. And it's life and it's death. It's faith and it's futility. It's justice and it's injustice. And then it poses this question, what do we choose? An open gate or a closed gallows? That's the question that this chapter will ask of us. It'll ask this of our leaders. It will ask this of our world. It will ask this to every human heart. That's what it's going to do. So that's what we're going to dive into. Are you ready? Yes. All right. 9 people are excited. Most of us are like, when is the boring part over so Ty can sing some more? What if just once we got excited about this part? Like, what if we got excited? This is like bone-jarring like art that's going to happen in Acts 12. It is such a laid out, beautiful. I was reading it a bunch this week, and this is what I kept coming up with. I wish I were better at this. Like, I wish I could do this justice, but God help us. Maybe we'll get somewhere. So, chapter 12, verse 1 goes this way. It was about this time that King Herod arrested some who belonged to the church, intending to persecute them. So, first of all, we have a time stamp here. It was about this time. Well, what time? Well, the time of Herod, this Herod. And these are like some things in the book of Acts that give us like where we are. We've been in Acts for like 8 to 11 years. Some of you are like, I know. No. We've been in Acts for a few months as a church. But here, like from the beginning of Acts, when Jesus is giving them their mission to where we are now, it's been about 8 to 11 years. We have external documents that tell us this based on when the big events happen in Acts. We can correlate those with other historians who are writing about these big events. And here we have a big event happening here. So we actually know the year. It's around 44 AD that this is going on, what we're talking about. Jesus lived a real life, historically so, and we have him somewhere doing his thing from like AD 30 to AD 35, depending on whose interpretation you're taking. So we know that this is around like 8-ish to 11 years where we're at in Acts right now. And where the time is kind of in this season of time, what we're going through is this guy is the king. And he knows that Jesus is not on the throne. Why? Because his crew had killed him. About a decade earlier, we killed him. And so it's starting to get kind of annoying. It's like the Brady Bunch, Marsha. He's still hearing Jesus. All these reports of Jesus, all these people following Jesus. Jesus is dead. Get over it. I'm on the throne. It's my turn. So I'm going to flex a little bit. That's what he's thinking. Now, Acts 2, we got a picture of the church. You know what it said about the church? They had all things in common. Then it said this. They enjoyed the favor of the people. Fast forward about a decade. This isn't favor anymore. This is seeing torches coming in the night to arrest you. This is people with clubs kicking in and hitting in your door to take you physically. Like, it changes, and that happens. that favor happens. It doesn't happen in your life, in your faith, and then there's going to be seasons where it doesn't happen. It happens in societies broader. There's going to be societies who welcome Christians and love Christianity, and Christianity buoys their culture. And then they get a different leader, and it's time to stomp it out. It happens. It recycles over and over again. We see this in the Bible. There's a guy named Daniel in the Old Testament. He was really good looking. He was really smart. He was really wise. And he rose to be number 2 in the society. He was the advisor to the king. He kind of got to rule some things. He was very important. And the next thing you know, he's in front of a lion. He's going to be executed. And that's how it goes. There are these peaks and there are these valleys. There are these hits and hope in faith. There's this one theologian from the 19th century, and he said it about the Bible. I'm going to change it a little bit to Christianity, but he said Christianity is like an anvil. You know that metal thing that sits there? It's an anvil that has worn out many hammers. So it wins, but man, those hammer blows keep coming. It's hits and it's hope. And that's why when your life, when you're in the season of you just feel like you're getting hammered on because of your faith, or culturally we're getting hammered on because of our faith, that's why the Bible gives us, we get the glimpse around the corner. We get to see the end. We get to see the love wins. We get to see that life overcomes. We get to see that Jesus lives. So we can persevere and have that hope. But those hammer blows, they keep swinging. In every age it happens. And now it's Herod's turn. That's the time. It's Herod's turn to do it. He's like, I'm going to play this game of whack-a-mole, and I might be strong enough, my arm mighty enough, my violence swift enough that I can end this Christianity thing once and for all. And we're going to see in this chapter how that turns out for him. There's some foreshadowing. It's very shadowy. So what does he do? He starts arresting people. We get one of the guys he arrested, verse 2. He had James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. That's one of the apostles. That's one of Jesus' close friends. That's a literal brother of someone in the movement. And the apostles, there's 12 of them. One of them was unfaithful, and there's 11 of them. Then they add one in, and then they graft in Paul. So there's 13 of them with kind of apostolic authority, and now one of them is gone. And people are counting. He's like, there's not that many more. And he's counting too. He's like, that's not that many more. I got rid of one of them. This is a good deal. And then James is a wonderful guy. He's a good man. He's well known. He's a fisherman. He's kind of simple. He's just this everyman character. So let's see what the public says, because that's all politicians really kind of care about, then and now, always. It's like, what is the public doing? It's not about right and wrong. It's not about ethics. It's not about morals. Oftentimes, it's like, what are the people doing? Are they applauding? Okay, I'll do more. You think about emperors. You think about the Colosseum. You think of how this goes. It's like, people are happy. I'm happy. Here we go. It's all just politics. So we've seen how the people respond to this. He kills a guy who's a good man, and then he saw that this, verse 3, met with approval among the Jews. It worked. So he proceeded to seize Peter also. You've heard of BOGO, buy one, get one? This was a coca. Kill one, kill another. He's like, let's get another one. Now we're hot. This one's the leader. This guy was a big deal, but this guy's an even bigger deal. So they're all clapping. I'll just take this guy too. We'll take him in, we'll arrest him. So he seized Peter also. This happened during the festival of unleavened bread. So after arresting him, he put him in prison. He's gathering him, he's putting him in prison. They're going to treat Peter here like he's Hannibal Lecter or something. Remember Hannibal Lecter? He's in like a straitjacket, had a mask on, and you saw that movie, Silence of the Lambs? He said something like, I ate his liver with fava beans and Chianti. It's like, gross, this guy's nasty. They're treating Peter the same way, and all Peter can say is, yeah, I got arrested, and I prayed for the guy and turned my other cheek. And they're treating him like that. Why? So they can foist him up as an enemy, a villain. And then they're going to have a sham trial, and they're going to kill him publicly. It's going to be a wondrous death that will nip Christianity in the bud. So they're excited. Have we ever seen that before? It's the exact same thing they did to Jesus. This guy's a rabble-rouser. He's causing trouble. If we kill him, we kill the whole thing. Let's kill him. And then it's kind of like those old cartoons, like the Roadrunner. And then you got the Wile E. Coyote. He's always laying traps. He's always doing dynamite. He's always got an amble going on someone's head. He's always going to, and then that Roadrunner just runs right by, meep, meep. This is going to be like an ultimate meep, meep scene. We're going to get it. We're finally going to get it. We got Peter. We got him right where we want him. We're going to end this thing once and for all. And then meep, meep, he goes running off. Verse 5. So he's arrested. After arresting him, they put him in prison, handing him over to be guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. I can do the math. That's 16 soldiers guarding this guy who's all about peace and love and faith and hope. Yeah, let's guard him up. Herod intended to bring him out for public trial after Passover, verse 5. So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. Now, why do you think they earnestly prayed? Because they understood. They understood that this is life and death. Their beloved brother in the faith, and literal brother in one case, James, had been killed. They know that Peter will now be killed. Like this, the stakes just raised. They also know this, that if they start killing all the leaders, and they can kill these celebrities, they can kill these leaders, it means that, man, if I'm just like a farmer in town, if I'm just a merchant in town, they can definitely kill me. I'm next. This whole thing is crumbling. There's pain, there's evil, there's violence all around. Here's the deal. If you want a prayer life, open your eyes. Like we close our eyes to pray. But first we have to open our eyes to see that all around us is life and death. You're like, not in my cul-de-sac. Yeah, maybe not in your cul-de-sac, or maybe not physically, but spiritually, isn't it? If you believe this stuff, then it's life and death. We have to have eyes to see, and if we have eyes to see, then the next claim would be open those eyes. This is why church actually matters. This is why your witness matters. This is why justice and generosity mean so very much, that the stakes are high and vast, eternally so, if the Bible's true. And here what we have developing is what I alluded to earlier, that we have forming a tale of two cities. So, city one. City one is represented by Herod, and it's the material city. That all that exists in this world is what you can see and what you can observe. That's it. If we can't empirically test it or seize it or look at it in our hands, then there's nothing else. There's nothing beyond. There's nothing out there. There's nothing more. This is what Carl Sagan said. He said, the cosmos, the universe, is all that ever exists or ever will be. It's a closed existence. The world is all there is. And here comes the thinking that if this is a closed existence, there's nothing beyond, there's nothing more, there's nothing after this life, there's nothing beyond this life. The thinking goes like this. I will use what is at my disposal to get what I can, do what I want, and then die my death. Elfine. That's it. Eat, drink, and be merry. Tomorrow you die. And Herod is realizing that that's the thinking. He knows that's the thinking. That's the existence he lives in, this closed existence. So he's realizing there is no God outside of this. So who's the God? It's whoever's the strongest inside of this. That Herod could be God as long as he was more God than any other observable thing. And that's how it works. If there's no external God, then who's God? It's whoever's got the most might, whoever's got the biggest army, whoever has the best gun. That's it. You rival that to city two. And what city two says is there is a God. There's an external being that exists apart from this and also in this, but transcendent from this. That there's this unseen reality, and with that unseen reality, it means this. It's kind of scary. Anything can happen. And that's ultimately this huge amount of hope, especially when your friend's arrested. That all of a sudden, love matters. The suffering in this city too has meaning. That some of you are suffering today, or you will be suffering tomorrow. Of all of us, it's coming. Suffering comes in waves. We're going to feel it, and it matters. It matters deeply. It's super important. It's meaningful. It's eternal in some ways. There's a beauty to it. That there's angels, that there's demons, that there's miracles, that there's good and evil. All of this is on the table in city two. And that's why these people gather and they pray. Their last resort isn't to write their congressperson. They can do that. It's not to go picket. It's not to storm the jail. They might have to do all those things. They can also tether themselves to something beyond and transcendent and more powerful and removed from all this mess. They are open to the idea of an open existence, an open world, a God that transcends. Like, I love this about the start of the Bible. You probably know the start of the Bible, some of you. You can say it with me if you want. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We just skim right through that. Do you know that's everything entirely in one simple sentence? Do you know that? In the beginning, you know what that's saying? Time. It means our days will be measured. It means we have a historical context. It means the things that came before matter to the things that will come and the things that will come in the future. We have tenses all of a sudden. The time is a thing, and we all know time is a thing. We feel it right now. That's why you're like, is he almost done? We know time is a thing. We feel it. This puts time in place. This makes story important because story always happens on a continuum of time. In the beginning, we have time. In the beginning, God created. So now we have God. And we know this, if he created, he's all powerful. That he's all powerful. That he exists outside of time. He's not bound by time. So my death doesn't mean the death of God. But also he can enter into time. It's his. He's powerful. So in the beginning, God created what? The heavens. What's that? The space. We look out to the stars. We look at the planets. We try and figure out what's going on up there. We try and use stuff we learn about there to bring down to here. We try and shoot into the stars and explore and pioneer space. That everything beyond is right here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's matter. So in one tidy little sentence, we have time, we have space, we have matter. And we have God that sits over all that resides. So the open universe creates a plethora of meaning and an abundance of whys. If you think you have everything figured out, have a kid. He'll be like, Dad, why is there a moon? I'll be like, well, because, and I'll tell him some fancy stuff I learned in 6th grade. Be like, but why? Well, and then you're out. You got nothing left. Like, I can tell you about the chemicals that are going on in the sun. I can tell you why it's happening, but why is it there? Why does it burn like that? Why doesn't it do something else? Why is it that color? Why isn't it something else? You can't get there. You hit a roadblock to all of your whys. But the open universe, these whys make a seemingly senseless world make sense. Just like God did. It takes nothing and it turns it to something. All of it. That the space, what we discover, it matters. And it tells us something about the nature of God and who God is and why God is. That our math, it matters all of a sudden. More than just a classroom to try and get a grade, more than just to figure out some stuff that'll last for a minute. It all just takes on deep meaning. It adds meaning to everything. It makes something. And this something is a safeguard against nothing. We humans can't actually fathom nothing. That's why when someone says, what are you doing? You say nothing. It's never nothing, right? We cannot fathom nothing as humans because where there's nothing, that's utter madness. The closed system is a perpetuating nothingness that gobbles up reason and defecates absurdity in its place. And that's why we have this trope. A trope or a cliche is based usually on truth, and it's the trope of the mad genius. That you get these people who have intellects maybe far beyond what some of you have. You get these people, the smartest people, they're the ones who are most broken and most depressed in some ways, right? Oftentimes. It's the mad genius. Here's the thing, that we have theistic geniuses throughout history, and you know what they are? Generally pretty fine. Like Bach. He was like a theistic genius. He believed in God. He was also a genius, could see around all these corners, but around these corners didn't scare him because in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And so the guy lived kind of just this fine life. Yes, he had some mental health stuff. Yes, he had some struggles. Yes, he had pains, but he was always tethered to reality. He wasn't plunged into nothingness. Or I think about J.R.R. Tolkien. He wrote The Lord of the Rings. He was like the greatest linguist of his age, philologist. He understood language. He put a bunch of languages in his book that he just created. Like, what? You talk about a nerd? That's the ultimate nerd. Like, what is this? I bet his wife just trolled him hard. What are you doing? You talking orc in there? Like, she probably just made fun of him all the time when dude was fine. He's like a Sunday school teacher. This massive genius who was just fine with his genius, and with Augustine, an old-time genius. He had some demons, he had some stuff going on, but he was just kind of fine because he was tethered to this worldview. See, the mad genius trope doesn't usually apply to people who are theists. It's the closed system genius, the city one genius. The city one genius often becomes a prophet of the closed system doom. What they do is they question and they probe and they dig to a point of naked nothingness, and madness becomes the only sensible position. Some of us are like, well, I don't get there. It's like because we don't see far enough around the corner, but we still feel that. We get like 4 steps. They go 6 steps. And it crushes them. Like, I like the trajectory of Vincent van Gogh. He's a good case study in this. He began as like raised in the church, raised as a Christian, obviously an artist, a creative master. And then he gets farther and farther removed from his faith, and then farther and farther removed from his faith, and farther removed from his faith. And then what happens too is mental health increases. His darkness increases. I'm not saying those things are causative. It might not be causation, it might be just correlation, but it's happening. It's a reality. He plunged to depths darker and darker and darker, and pretty soon he took his own life because there was nothing left to live for. Because the closed city for him was too small, was too dense, was too abstract for the master of the abstract. Or there's that guy, Edvard Munch. Remember that picture? Everyone knows this picture. I should put it on the screen, but the one where it's like Kevin McAllister in Home Alone. It's like blurry, but he's screaming, and it's just like this haunting picture. It's kind of, you just look at it and it's scary. I mean, it captures it, and here's what it's supposed to capture. Existential dread. What this dude was doing was looking at the darkness in his heart and just painting his soul, because that's where he had arrived. Here's one of his quotes. He says, "Illness, madness, and death were the black angels that kept watch over my cradle." It was closed. It's funny because in a closed system, the darkness remains, but the light can't break through. He had demons, but no angels. It's the story of Plath or Wolfe or Poe. Their views, like the raven, croaked feeble nevermores. Nietzsche's the best example of this. Nietzsche's this philosopher who shone light on so many things. Brilliant man, great writer, came up with all kinds of stuff. But over time, he got darker and darker and darker, and more alone and more alone and more alone, and sicker and sicker and sicker, and angrier and angrier and angrier. Just shriveled away in the dark. And then he said this, listen to this line. If you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss gazes into you. I think about Victor Hugo. He wrote Les Mis, and they made this Broadway hit about Les Mis. It's been around for like 30 years, and it opens up with these prisoners. I love that they're prisoners. They're inmates, and they're singing this, look down, you're here until you die. And then later in the song, they say, look down, you're standing in your grave. It's the closed existence. It's a picture of city one versus city two. And here's another take, in case that's way too far out there for you. Another take is this. This is a challenge. You have to put it on your calendar because it's months away. But on Christmas, take a drive. And you'll see the difference between city one and city two. First, drive the neighborhoods. It'll be a little creepy, but every third house, you look in the windows, and they're aglow with people and with warmth. People coming, people going, people eating, people singing, people laughing, people gifting. It's a picture of hope. It's a picture of city two. And then drive downtown or drive to the business district or drive outside some storefronts, and they're just dark and empty. All is closed, all is dark, goes the song. And it's just kind of depressing and sad. You want to get back to where the people are, where the hope is, where the light is. It's a symbol. It's a symbol of the closed city and the open city, city one versus city two. The Christians, the church at this scene, they left the light on. They gather up and pray because they had a hope beyond the darkness. That the king of city one can't beat the king of city two. And that's a challenge for us when we read this, is to open our eyes and to pray. That the world suffers. There are people in this room that are suffering. There are neighbors that are suffering. There are people and brothers and sisters always in chains forever. We need to pray. We come to verse 6, finally. The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers. I love that because it's a callback scene. What's going on in Peter's life? The storm. He's sleeping between two soldiers. That's not a comfortable sleeping arrangement. It's even more uncomfortable because you know tomorrow you're going to have a sham trial, a bunch of falsehoods are going to be said about you. And by then, like the next day or the day after, you're probably going to be hung on a cross or hung or taken to the sword or beheaded. Anxious? Nope. Worried? Nope. Fearful? Nope. Sleeping. Where have we seen that? Oh, yeah. Peter was with his master Jesus, his rabbi, during a storm, and all the disciples were crying out. All the disciples were yelling. All the disciples were anxious. They were fearful. And what was Jesus doing? Sleeping. And then he wakes up and calms the storm. He's going to wake up and calm the storm again. And Peter's confident of that. Or he's going to allow me to be beheaded, and I'm confident in that too, because my life is not my own. He has a peace that surpasses understanding here. It's a beautiful picture. Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with 2 chains. That'd be a good rap name, 2 chains. They got 2 chains on him. And sentries stood guard at the entrance. All right, we got sentries. We got 16 guards plus sentries. We got 2 chains. I love that too, the 2 chains thing. At some point, they're like, okay, we got like 30 guards. We got a gate. We got a jail. And they put a chain on, and someone's like, put a second chain on him. Because if Liam Neeson comes in here and beats up all the guards and then kicks in the gate and then breaks all the jailers up and then slams and suplexes Herod and then he gets this first chain, he's going to be so flummoxed by the second chain. I think in heaven when they put the second chain on, all of a sudden an alarm went off and an angel's like, oh my gosh, a second chain. And he like kicked in a door to Jesus' staff meeting. He's like, Jesus, they added a second chain. And Jesus wept again. He's like, oh no, a second chain. How are we going to beat this one? I don't know what to do. And then he's like, 2 chains. That should be a rapper. And he writes it down like, what are you doing? He's like, in 2,000 years, I'm going to make a rapper with that name. Like he's not worried about it. This 2 chain thing, it cracks me up because that's what humans do. It's like, yeah, we can thwart this. And then our ways of thwarting it, the spiritual progress in our lives are so dumb. So absurdly dumb. That's the takeaway, that running from God is irrational. Putting all these guards in place so that God can't get through, putting all these chains in your life so that God can't free you, it just doesn't make any sense. And they're moving all these guards off murderers. Like, we caught a fisherman, guard. It's just, God's going to do what he wants. Quit running from him. Jonah runs from God. He ends up in a storm. Then he ends up in the belly of fish. Like, hey, we don't want to end up Eden. They sin and they're ashamed. So what do? They play hide and seek with God. That's a bad game. You're going to lose it. Thank goodness that you're going to lose it. It doesn't work to hide from God. It just brings pain into your life. And thank goodness the hound of heaven doesn't stop his pursuit. He's coming for you. Let him. I remember this time, my boy, a couple years ago, one of them, he developed a fear of the wind. It was only lasted a month, thank goodness. But we out at his brother's soccer game, the wind would start blowing. We're in an open field, far removed from any kind of like refuge. And he's like, help me. I was like, can't, man. We can't run from this. You cannot run from the wind. Here's the word for you if you've been running, if you've been hiding. Here's the word, surrender. This is how it looks. It's like an old-timey Western. You just start walking out that saloon and you say, you got me. I'm coming out. You put your hands up and you throw yourself at the mercy of the good sheriff. Let him see what he'll do. Maybe he'll give you grace. Maybe he'll give you mercy. But the fight's over. He will win the fight. The chains aren't going to help. Verse 7, suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. I love this line. He struck Peter on the side. It's like, etiquette, Clarence. What are we doing? Like, I don't know if that's called for. This guy was amped up. He had a couple missions going on. He had a to-do list. This is like the first time I think biblically you see a stressed out angel. He's like, get up. And he kicks him. And then he says, quick, get up. It's like, this guy's just ratcheted up. And the chains fell off, both of them. Dang, the chains didn't work. They fell off Peter's wrist. All right? He's like, quick. And then what follows the quick? Hurry, we got to get out of here. What follows this in verse 8 is he then proceeds to dress him how I dress my 3-year-old daughter. This is it. Quick, hurry. And then he says, verse 8, put on your clothes. Oh, your sandals. Big guy, don't forget your sandals. And then Peter did so. And he's, wrap your cloak around you and follow me. Like he's putting his coat on him. He's like, I thought we were in a big rush. This is like a low-speed chase. It's very confusing what's going on. This angel's kicking people, and then he's dressing him really delicately. But Peter followed him out of prison and had no idea what the angel was doing. Sounds right. And what was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. In verse 10, they passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. Jig's up. There's a gate. They didn't plan on the gate. It opened for them by itself. It was like a Walmart door. Just, and they just walked through. This is like such a beautiful scene. Because in the Bible, do we ever see gates like that open? Like, do we see gates like that? What about the Israelites who were captured in Egypt? And they were never getting out of there. And all of a sudden, the Egyptians were like, please go. You brought gnats and you brought frogs. Please, the frogs would have done it for me. I think, just get out of here, okay? Just leave. And then they changed their mind, like, no, we need to get our slaves back. So they go after them. There's a gate. It's a water gate, not that kind. There's a water gate before them, the Red Sea, and all of a sudden, it just opens. And they walk through. It doesn't make sense. That's not rational. That's closed city, closed existence thinking. Anything's possible. Gates open. Grand opening, grand closing. We can walk straight through this thing. Anyone ever had a gate open for them? I bet in this room, if we just had open mic, people would be like, yeah, I had this gate open. We got some gates opening for us. It's one of God's favorite hobbies is opening gates. It's like heavenly pickleball. There's always a game on. It's like clock, clock, clock. You hear it all night long. Gates are just opening. Some of us, it's opening right now. We have a relationship that we've been praying for. We wish our kid who was estranged would come back and talk to us. We wish our marriage would start healing. And the gates are starting to open. We wish we'd get that job we've been longing for. We wish we'd have that conversation. And it's like we wish and we hope and we pray, and all of a sudden, you just never know. And you walk through. Some of us, the gate that's waiting to open, it needs a little grease on it maybe or something. I don't know. Maybe it needs some angelic help. Is for the gospel to take root in your life. And it could be happening right now. Keep going. Let's see. Where are we? 11. The angel leaves him, leaves Peter, and then all of a sudden, Peter came to himself and said, now I know without a doubt that the Lord has sent... Peter may not be smart. Now I know it was the Lord that sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and did everything the Jewish people did. It wasn't the chains, it wasn't the guards falling asleep, it wasn't us walking out. It was the gate opening, and then he left. And then 12, when this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, also called Mark, where many people had gathered and were praying. I love this. Sometimes when stuff happens in life, you just got to find your folks, right? The big thing, Peter, their friends arrested, they got to get together. Sometimes you just got to be with your people. I had this friend in high school, a real good friend. It was like a Tuesday or something, and a bunch of news came out about his family in the front page, which he didn't know about. It wasn't his fault. But it was defaming his family, and it was like kind of just bad press, and it looked bad, and it was shameful. And then kids in high school, big public high school, are like super gracious about that sort of thing, so we had nothing to worry about. No, like half the kids there were just lamenting, were just making fun of him, were just lambasting him. And then his car was there, but he disappeared. No one knew where he was. And then they're like, uh-oh. Could he hurt himself? Like, what's going on? This is a big day. It's hard for like a 16-year-old to handle this stuff. And I'm like his best friend. I was like, I know where he is. He was like the best three-point shooter in the area. He would eat and sleep basketball. That's probably why he walked around kind of funny, because he used a basketball as a pillow. He's got to sleep under bed, and he just sleeps on a basketball. Like, he just loved basketball. So I went to our game gym. There he is, sitting on the stage, basketball in his lap, just sitting there in a daze. And I just went and sat next to him for a couple hours. It was great. I got out of algebra. It's wonderful. I just knew where to find him. I knew where he'd be. He'd be where his love was. These people that went to the upper room. What had happened in the upper room? It's where Jesus had a meal with them. once upon a time. It's where when Jesus died and was crucified, they went there to hide and prayed for his deliverance, prayed for Jesus, prayed for themselves, prayed for their movement, prayed for all that, and then he knocked on the door, showed up. So maybe they think this is a lucky spot. They show up and they wanted to get together. Wouldn't that be great if church was kind of like that? If something crazy happens in society, some weird thing, some violence happens, some uncertainty happens, and we come together. Or some good thing happens and we just want to be here. That's what Sunday's supposed to be. The church coming together in the upper room to be where Jesus was with them, to be reminded of Jesus with them. I love that they went there to pray together. And Peter knew it. He's like, no, they'll be in the gym. He goes right for them where they are. So he went to that place, 13. They were gathered there praying. Peter knocked on the outer entrance, and a servant named Rhoda came to answer the door. This biblical humor that's going to happen. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed, she ran back without opening the gate. So he's 25, 30 guards, check. King Herod, check, got out of that. Chains, 2 chains, both of them gone. Went through a gate, city gate, iron gate, just waltzed right through. And I can't get past the prayer meeting bouncer, Rhoda. He just standing there God, come on. I went into this prayer meeting. What is happening? You can't break this one? What is going on? It's just the Bible, I think, being funny. We can't get past her. And then 15, she says, hey, it's Peter out there. And they say to her, the guys in the prayer meeting, the gals in the prayer meeting, you're out of your mind, they told her. When they kept insisting that this was so, they said, well, it must be his angel. Question, do they pray kind of like you do? They pray kind of like I do. This is how their prayer meeting went. One guy lead off, they're all supposed to pray, but one guy, he's verbose. It's bad when you're in a prayer meeting and you're all supposed to pray about kind of something and one guy takes it all. Because then the next guy's I don't really know what to do. But that's why they help Peter, God, deliver him. Please, Lord, sweet Jesus, deliver him. Lord, Father, please have mercy on our... And he just keeps going. You're oh no. And then he kind of stops and then the next guy will pray. So what does he say? Lord, I echo that. We always do these echoes. If you're ever in a Christian prayer circle, there's always someone who's echoing with the person, that guy took it all, so I just have to echo. So that guy echoes it, please deliver it. And then the third guy's well, I echo that echo. Jim's echo was really good of James's echo, so I'm going to echo that echo, and please deliver Peter. And they're just having this prayer thing, and then the guy says the thing that some of us have prayed probably before. So I just echo that echo, Lord, and I just pray a hedge of protection around Peter. You ever pray a hedge of protection? Be honest, how many of you have ever prayed a hedge of protection? Yeah, we raise our hands as Christians. What's a hedge of protection? I did it once. It wasn't official. I was an echo. I was in junior high, and some senior had prayed some prayer of a hedge of protection. I was I echoed that prayer of a hedge of protection. I don't know what that is. Is that a bush that surrounds you? Is it a kung fu fighting bush that's going to surround? I pray a hedge of protection. They're just praying over and over again for old Peter. Just his deliverance. Knock on the door. It's Peter. No, it can't be. He's dead. It's that's how some of us pray. We pray for these things to happen, then they happen. We're the last one to find out. Here's what we got to remember, that God is good, that we live in city 2. It's the open existence. That city 2 life, you just never know. It's like Kevin Garnett. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. We can pray for Peter's deliverance, and he might just show up in our living room. It's amazing. Maybe not for Peter. He's just out there, 16. But Peter kept on knocking. I think he was swearing, too. I don't think this was knocking. I think it was pounding. I think he's trying different codes. Oh. How does Jesus say to pray? Ask, seek, what's the third one? Knock. I love that. But some of us stop after we ask. You haven't gone far enough. Some of us stop after we ask and seek, haven't gone far enough. Knock on some doors. Knock. That's what he does. He's sitting there knocking. He's kind of getting annoyed, what's going on? And then they open up the door and they were astonished. And Peter motioned with his hands for them to be quiet, which I would have done too after not letting me in. And he told them the story, how he brought out of prison, didn't tell James, that's his brother Jesus, and the other brothers and sisters about this. And then he went and left for another place. That's not all that happened. I'm not trying to add to the Bible, but there's stuff that the Bible doesn't tell us. And I think what he doesn't tell us right there, you think they celebrated? They had get the DJ going. They just started having the guy we prayed for who is dead is with us. You think some hugs and hand pounds weren't happening? They're fine. He had to get out of there, but how fun is it if one of your friends is a convict on the lam? That's so exciting. They're having such a fun time. And they had this party. And then we get the juxtaposition because we get to switch back to city 1. City 1, verse 18. In the morning, there was no small commotion among the soldiers as to what had become of Peter. After Herod had a thorough search made for him and did not find him, he cross-examined the guards and ordered that they be executed. City 1, what breaks out is CSI Jerusalem. They got some cat in glasses and a little notebook, and they're like measuring stuff with a ruler. They have like a chalk outline of Peter, and they're looking at the chains, like these chains are really good. I don't know. They're snapping them. Like there's no rational explanation for what went on. Here's the question. Does God ever do anything beyond human logic? Can he? Does he? I was on a text message this week with my friend Kelly Wright. I dog Kelly all the time up here, but she's actually a friend. And her husband, Hartley, had been in a terrible accident a few years ago. Many of us know that. And so they had to go see a doctor. Nothing was wrong. They just had to go see a doctor for like a kind of routine checkup, but they were worried about it. They wanted to know what he was going to say. And the doctor, who's from a different town, they traveled a couple hours for this thing. The doctor, who was from a different town, laid out the case, looked at Hartley, looked at the file, looked at the pictures, and then said, this is a miracle. You shouldn't be here. I've done like 17 years of doctor's school, 30 years of my profession, and I look at all my math, I look at all my science, I look at all my learning, I don't know. I just don't know. You ever seen that? Where the storm has spared you? Where the sickness just left? I was in this car wreck once myself. We were driving a super nice car. It was a Dodge Neon, 1987 or something. What are you laughing? My sister was driving it. I remember my mom called, and she's like, it was snowing. We were trying to get home for Christmas. And she's like, hey, are you guys wearing your seatbelts? And I was like, yeah. And I clicked it. I didn't want her to know that it wasn't. I wasn't. I really wasn't wearing the seatbelt. I was crawling in the back to get a laptop so we could play music on it. And so I clicked it, and it's like, yes, mother, I am. And he said, are you going slow? And I looked at the speedometer. I was like, slower than usual. Like Carrie's usually driving like 90. We're driving 60 in a 55. We're doing fine. Snowing a little bit. And I was like, all right, see you, Mom. We'll see you for Christmas. Hang up. And then the car starts spinning. We're riding spinners, but the bad kind, not the good kind. We're just going, spinning, faster, faster, faster. And then all of a sudden, we hit this ravine. And I don't want to dramatize. It wasn't like 1,000 foot, but it's a couple hundred, enough to do a few like cartwheels in a Dodge Neon. Not a great car for cartwheels. We go end over end, land at the bottom, upside down, smoke, everything. And I just remember this episode of Oprah came into my mind. I've seen like 2 episodes of Oprah ever. But there was one that captivated me because they were talking about if you're ever submerged in water in a car, what do you do? And I thought we were submerged in water because we were upside down. The car was all smashed up, and there's like tiny little holes. And I started kicking out glass every which way. And then I made a little body hole, and I crawled out. And my sister, we like wedged her out of that. And we army crawled to the top of the ravine. Some other cars had stopped. They had called the ambulance. And then what I started doing is I started scampering down the hill because we had Christmas presents in there. I started like fishing them out and then crawling up the hill. And then I got my laptop out, and I got her favorite sweatshirt out. And I was just crawling into this dicey inferno to get our stuff out. And the ambulance driver had shown up, the paramedic or whatever, and I pop up in the scene. He goes, who are you? And I was like, I was in the wreck. He's like, hey, there's no time to joke. Where are the bodies? I was like, I'm the body. Like, there's no way. Who was in the car? I was like, me and her. And they're like, who else? I was like, there was no one else. It's just us. And they're like, there's no way. And I remember when they pulled that little Dodge Neon that was crushed like a Coke can out of that ravine, they're like, there's no way anyone survived this. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but it's happened. And that's not even as big as the other one that's happened to me. Maybe it happened to some of you. It's this. I once was blind, but now I see. That's the most astounding one. That's the best trick that God does. That the God of the universe wants to adopt you. Ty sang it earlier, that when we were a foe, he made us a friend. He sent the invite. That he wants to be with you. That's City 2 stuff. And then the common move happens in 19. They can't figure it out, and so they have to have fall guys, so they kill the guards. This happens a lot in the Old Testament. We'll just kill the guards. We've got to kill someone because it makes us feel like we have a sense of control over what happened that we don't understand. So when the world we've construed makes no sense, madness and violence prevail. That's what happens. All right, I'm going to close this. One more quick scene. It's the end of this section, and I'm going to tell you it's warning. It's rated R. It's rated R for resolution. That can be hopeful for some in here. It might be fearful for others. It depends on which city you call home. But this is what we're going to see is city 1 get dealt with. In the Bible, you have resolution, but sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it takes a long time for the evil empire to fall. Sometimes, like now, we're waiting for evil to fall. Now and not yet. It's coming, but it's not here yet, so we're waiting. We don't always get resolution. This chapter we get resolution kind of right away. So here we have city 1 and city 2. Peter is the picture of city 2. The Peter is a dead man walking. He's arrested by a violent king. He is going to be killed, and yet he's very much alive walking into a prayer meeting. They pray for him, and he's delivered. And he's walking free, this dead man walking. And then Herod is the king. He's peacocking on the throne. As live as you can be, great clothes, great look, everything's going on. And he's dead, and he doesn't even know it. At the beginning of this chapter, we see James martyred. James is a friend of Jesus. At the end of a good tale, the end of a good story, the bad guy gets what's coming. How does the Old Testament put it? Justice rolls down like a mighty water. And it happens here. And it's this brilliant setup. Verse 20, you'll miss it. Let me read this to you. You're going to miss it, but then we'll clarify. He, Herod, had been quarreling with the people of Tyre and Sidon, and now joined together and sought an audience with him. After securing the support of Blastus, we don't make those anymore, cool name, Blastus, a trusted personal servant of the king, they asked for peace because they depended on the king's country for their food supply. Did you catch it? Probably didn't. It's kind of hidden in there. It's like this those magic eyes. You stare at it, and then all of a sudden it pops out at you, hot air balloon. Here it is. What we have here is a people at odds with God, with the king. They're at odds with the king. So what do? They seek mediation through a trusted servant, Blastus. A mediator comes and stands in the gap for them, all as a means to bring peace. It's the gospel. The gospel goes this way, that man is a foe of God, and Jesus stands in the gap and makes a bridge, a translator, so that we can have peace with God, and we be reunited, and we can be children of God. Only we're in the closed city here, so it doesn't work that way. It's a farce. See, the open city, city 2's got this gospel, and it redeems, and it brings life. This one, up is down and down is up. God is dead, and redemption is a farce. So we're going to see it just break down because they're in the wrong city for peace to happen. On the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robes, sat on his throne and delivered a public address to the people. They shouted, "This is the voice of God, not of man." It's like this Met Gala is going on, and it's super fancy. And he's believing his own hype. He's believing his immortality. He killed James. He arrested Peter. He's the man. He's got worldly wisdom. He's the top DOG. He's going to flip those letters and make it the top GOD. That's what he's doing here. And then there's this Jewish guy. His name's Josephus. He's like Ken Burns, all right? He's the Jewish Ken Burns of that era. And he'd write all the history. So he actually captured the same scene here in a secular history. And he says this. So Herod, he came to Caesarea, formerly called Strato's Tower. And there he exhibited shows in honor of Caesar, upon his being informed that there was a certain festival for his safety. At the festival, a great multitude was gotten together of the principal persons, and such were of dignity through his province. On the second day of which shows, he put on a garment made wholly of silver, and of a contexture truly wonderful, and came into the theater early in the morning, at which time the silver of his garment, being illuminated by the fresh reflection of the sun's rays upon it, shone out after a surprising manner, and was so resplendent as to spread a horror over those that looked intently upon him. Okay, fashionista. Josephus was like on E! Channel. He was like going Bravo. He was like, gorgeous. It's like Tim Gunn has showed up on the scene. He just spent like a paragraph talking about the guy's robes. It's so funny. They just like, this historian goes into that. But Bible says the same thing. He's dressed fancy. They just say it in fewer words. And then he said, presently his flatterers cried out from one place and then another, though not for his good, that he was a god. And they added, be merciful to us. For although we have hitherto referenced thee only as a man, yet shall we henceforth own thee as superior to mortal nature. Upon this king, the king did neither rebuke them nor reject them. But as he presently afterward looked up, he saw an owl sitting on a certain rope over his head. A severe pain also arose in his belly and began in a most violent manner. His pain became more violent. Accordingly, he was carried to the palace, and the rumor went abroad everywhere that he would certainly die in a little time. The king rested in a high chamber, and as he saw them below lying prostrate, having their prayer meeting, only to him, it doesn't help when you're the god and you get sick, does it? Prostrate on the ground, he could not himself forbear weeping. So there he is weeping. And when he had been quite worn out by the pain in his belly for 5 days, he departed this life. That's the fall of Herod. Here's how the Bible puts it. Pretty much the same story. Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord, probably the same angel who just rescued Peter, struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. There we see the angel delivering in city 2, the angel redeeming, versus in city 1, the angel destroying, the angel damning. Then eaten by worms. Herod was eaten by worms. City 1 is eaten by worms. Every kingdom which attempts to stand as God is eaten by worms. Those who willfully close their existence to God stare into the abyss, and the abyss stares back. And eventually it beckons them. And how does 23 end? He's eaten by worms and he died. 24, but the word of God continued to spread and, what's the last word? Flourish. Life. City 1 ends in death. City 2 ends in life. The gates are open. What does it say about the gates? It says the gates of hell will not stand against the movement of God. Will not stand against the church. It's the tale of two cities. The question it leaves us with is, do you believe it? The best of times and worst of times hangs in that balance. And that by the power of God, because he's a kind God, he allows us in some ways to choose our existence, to pick our path, to claim citizenship in the city, to crown your God. Do we crown the athlete, the celebrity, the politician? Or like Napoleon, do we self-coronate ourselves? That's what most of us do. Or do we put that crown, bow before him, and then raise and set it on King Jesus? And when we do so, he opens up the gates and says, hey, I got a better city for you. One where the gates open. One where we walk in freedom. One where you have prayer meetings and friendships forever. The gates are open. Let me pray real quick for deliverance. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this scene where we have a juxtaposition between Herod and Peter. We get to see how divergent their paths are. We get to see the difference between two cities, two ways of life, two philosophies. One that is closed, and we get what we get, we don't throw a fit, and then we die. And we war, and whoever's the strongest has the might, and the first will be first, and that's all there is, but the first will also die. What is it? He who has the most toys wins, but he who has the most toys also dies. City 1. Or we get to see City 2, where anything is possible. With man, it's impossible. With God, all things are possible. That you sit in the beginning, and you created heaven and the earth. And in that, we have our answer to every philosophy. We have our answer to every kind of trumped-up religion. We have our answer to politics. We have our answer to education. That you keep hope alive. So I pray that we would yearn for City 2, that we'd be part of City 2, that we would crown you king. And if anyone in here hasn't ever done that, I pray today might be the day that the gate would open. They won't understand what it means. They don't have to. That's the thing that keeps us back. I don't understand any of this. You're not really supposed to at first. You don't go to physics class and just get it. You learn it. But you sign up for physics class to learn it. And so if someone is wooed, if someone is wowed by you and your invite to City 2, I pray that they would walk through that gate that you have opened. Peter didn't have to go with the angel, I guess. He could have stayed. But only death awaited him. I pray that you would free us to life, that we would be City 2 people. Thank you for each person in this room. Thank you for their attention. I pray something got through. We love you, Lord, and pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.